Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us in the nation today. Welcome to our public Ask Me Anything. This one is on public pre K state based programming. As always, you are free to drop any questions that you have in the comment section. And if you are watching this after our live session, you can still drop those questions in. We do circle back, we answer them as they pop up in our comments. As I said, today we were talking about public pre-K. So this is something that has become a major topic in our case management as the cost of care continues to rise. We see families that have multiple children looking for really any relief that they can access from the cost of care. So if it means only one child that they have to pay for, then that's what they want to do. And we completely understand. Um, Every state does have slightly different rules. Sometimes that even varies within the state. And so I am thrilled to have all of our speakers here with us today who are subject matter experts in their states and how those programs work. So I'm going to do a quick let's meet them here today. So I am the founder of Operation Child Care Project. Not the subject matter expert in public pre-K programs, which is why I'm grateful to have from Florida, Dana Hodges with us. She is the CEO of the Early Learning Coalition of the Emerald Coast, but she will be able to speak on Florida as a whole. We also have with us from the state of Colorado, a major military hub, Heather Mayhew, who is working with Joint Initiatives Foundation. She is a family resource navigator. She works closely with the installation and with families in accessing pre-K. And then in the state of Texas, actually from Military City, USA, they do have that trademarked, by the way. So in case anybody else wanted to try to take the title, not possible. They trademarked it. We have Vanessa Morin, and she is a consultant with Early Childhood. So she's going to talk about the state of Texas. Before we dig into that, and feel free to drop your questions now if you want, I will go through those. But before I hand it over to our speakers, a tiny bit of background here on what is free pre-K. Since each state does define eligibility and delivery differently, a military family moving from one state to another may find that perhaps the age requirements shift, and that is including cutoff dates. So just because it's September 1 in one state doesn't mean it's going to be September 1 in every state. That the free portion of the hours varies. So in some states, you will have full day, some states half day, some states it's done by minutes. The enrollment process and the wait lists will likely change. They're going to be a varying status. Sometimes it could even happen in the same year. That start of the year, they have one set of wait lists in time frames, and then in the end of the year, they don't. We also see, depending on where you are, that your military status may or may not be a priority factor. There's a lot of rhetoric around military families getting priority, but that's not accurate in every state or even in every county. And this really sets the stage as to why subject matter experts from each state are essential in explaining how military families can get access to these programs. A very quick background on where did this even come from? We have seen public kindergarten be a hot topic in the past, and now it's so standardized. And as we're seeing pre-K come in, you might be wondering, where did this even start? Very quickly, the 1960s, it was launched in 1965, Federal Head Start program was, and that was kind of the early days of how this program could come into design. It was intended to provide comprehensive early education, nutrition, family support for families that are low income, so below poverty lines. Head Start still exists today. It's still something we see a lot of. It's not the same as the public pre-K. We have different programs now, but it did serve as a model for many states. In the 1980s and 90s, we saw states pilot and expand these programs. It was actually Georgia and Oklahoma became the first states to offer free voluntary pre-K to all their 4-year-olds. Other states did start experimenting with targeted programs for children who were considered at risk. Definitions, again, vary by state. Of starting school behind. So when we get up to our 2000s and into the present, we are seeing more statewide and universal movements where now more than 40 states fund some form of pre-K. But scope, quality, access vary wildly. Funding sources could be state education budgets, lottery revenues, special tax initiatives. Expansion is often tied to research that has demonstrated high quality early learning improves long term educational outcomes. And for military families, why this matters, there are many major military cities that military families in particular are outlined as eligible for pre K programs, which is what leads us to where we are today. Because pre K expansion happened at the state level, we are not seeing uniform national policy. So, a military family PCSing from one state with maybe universal full day pre K to one with limited half day income restricted programs or vice versa, it becomes very overwhelming. So, in no particular order, except alphabetical, we are going to start with Colorado. So, Heather, please, brief introduction and take it away.
Heather, welcome to Colorful Colorado. So I was a former military spouse for 22 years. So if you throw acronyms at me like TDY, BHA, or PCS, I got you covered. Not a problem. I understand that. Our acronym is LCO, Local Coordinating Officer, which is what I am in El Paso County, which is where our bases and our posts are located. So El Paso County does cover Colorado Springs and Fountain and all of those areas. So I am part of Joint Initiatives, which is actually a nonprofit organization. We work with all different agencies and resources in El Paso County from birth to 21-year-olds. Me specifically, I do universal preschool. So we do have on our webpage a UPK for Families page. It's specifically for you to go in. There's a handbook there, along with the fact we do have it in Spanish as well. We do have a bilingual family resource navigator, so she is also able to help us at that time. So for eligibility, all military, if you meet the following criteria, it does include Guard and Reserve, you live in Colorado, and your child is a year out from starting kindergarten, which means they are 4 years old by October 1st of that school year. So what that means is there is a box on our application now where it says, I am a military family moving to Colorado. You can check that box because we know sometimes you don't have an address yet. And we want to make sure that you're able to get the application in and that you're actually able to go in and do the application and get it into the system. So you get up to free 15 hours of UPK if you meet those two criteria. And then you can also put in income documents, and there's other factors. You can get up to 30 hours of universal preschool. Now, what that means is part-time and half-day programs are covered by your 15 hours. If you get additional hours and you also want to use full-time or extended day, your 15 or 30 hours is applied, and there are out-of-pocket costs based on what the provider has on their profile. They have listed all their fees and all of their rates. 15 hours, what you would pay out of pocket. 30 hours, if you get that, what you would pay out of pocket. I do know in our state, I have worked with Child Care Aware, and it is a case-by-case basis. So if you do want to use Child Care Aware, they can sometimes blend it with our UPK. So that is where we are looking at for that. One thing we do say, if your child does turn 4 during the school year, if they are not 4 by October 1st, which is the cutoff date, then they are not eligible for 4-year-old UPK until the next school year. If you have a 3-year-old, we do have a UPK program. It's through our school district. So if you are just looking for a Gen Ed UPK seat, you would call your home district and I can help you figure out where that is. If your child has an IEP as a 3-year-old, do an application. You'll get placed into a school district IEP UPK seat. That is for 3 and 4-year-olds. You have any questions about getting an evaluation? I can help set you up with your child find point of contact here if you feel that there's some developmental delays, you want to get checked out on your child. Another thing that we look at is UPK in Colorado covers school district schools, private preschools, and home preschools. We are up to about 252 providers now. which is awesome. So we are constantly updating our open seat chart. You can reach out to UPK at our JI website. It'll come directly to me. I will let you know if you move here during the school year, if you move here in January. Whenever you move here, I will be able to help get you into a UPK seat. We are constantly keeping them open, and providers do add them for us, which is wonderful. So we also are connected to our military bases and post here because I go and do presentations there as well for onboarding and new person orientation. So you might see me at one of those if you go to it. One of the last things I was going to talk about is for our application for 26-27. It is going to open up this mid-December. So if you are eligible that your child is 4 years old by October 1st, and then you also live in the state of Colorado or you're moving here, then what you can do is go to our webpage, which is on one of the slides, and our application is there. If you move here now for 25-26, we are putting children in UPK seats until about the beginning of April, actually, of 26. So if your child qualifies for this school year, please get an application in and call me if you have any questions or want to know what's open for UPK seats. We do have quite a few still open, and I am always constantly changing and making sure we have seats available. For 26-27, get your application in mid-December. It will be on our JI webpage as well. And then we're going to run 2 rounds, one in February, one in March. Your lottery number is going to base on where you're going to be possibly getting a match. After that, if you move here, we do start in April direct placement. We are going to work directly with you and providers to make sure we can get you into a seat. So, like I said, we are constantly looking at the fact that we want to help you out. We are here for you no matter what. I do understand moving. I moved about 14 times in my life as an Air Force spouse. So whatever you need, please reach out. And like I said, we do have a bilingual person as well. So if you know somebody that needs help with that, we can assist you. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in Colorful, Colorado.
Thank you, Heather. I really appreciate that. And everything as usual, all of these slides, all the links, all the handouts that Heather has provided will be on our website. This slide deck is available, and everywhere that you see words where it says you could go to this place for information, I linked it. So everything will be widely available. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's move over again, sticking to our alphabetical order. And then I am going to go ahead and bring Dana in with us. So thank you, Heather. Dana, welcome. Please go ahead, take it away. Tell us about Florida.
Wow. Well, first, thank you so much for sharing so much about Colorado. It's so interesting to see how other states do things. And I'm like, wow, lots of little intricacies to think about. So, well, the state of Florida, just so you know, we have 30 coalitions across the state of Florida, and we also have an RCMA. So I am just one of 30. So we are the ELC of the Emerald Coast, and we house Herbert and Eglin, are 2 bases in our area. But the state of Florida really runs, it's pretty simple. On the document here that Kayla is showing, there's only 2 things that you need to do in order to be eligible for VPK. You need to be a resident of the state of Florida, and your child has to be 4 on or before September the 1st. That's it. And then your child will be eligible for the voluntary pre-kindergarten across the state of Florida, regardless of where you are in Florida. On here, you can see what is required for proof of residency. And it's pretty basic. You can use utility bills, your driver's license if you have a Florida driver's license. But specifically for the military, on another slide that you'll see after, oh, there she goes. She has it here. This is what you could use for your residency. And on this slide, Kayla, I'm so sorry, it's small. Can you point out the boxes? 5. Which has the dates on there. It's just important for us to make sure that on your orders or your spouse's orders, it states when you will be coming to the state of Florida. So if you wanted to do that before you came, you are able to do that as long as on your orders, it states when you have to report. We know that sometimes it's hard for military families when they're moving and they want to get things going. So Florida values that and sees that and values our military. And this is just one way that you can accomplish the residency piece. But one thing I would like to point out, this will not be a document you can use for your child's birth to prove that your child's birth. So you would need a birth certificate. You can use your military card that you guys have. We would need the front and back that would have your child's birth date on there. There's immunization records, but there's several documents that you guys would be able to show in order to show that the child is in fact for honor before September the 1st. There are other options for VPK. If you wanted to hold your child back, there are some ranges of dates that we can work with you one-on-one. But typically people tend to use the VPK program through the school year. It is 540 hours. So your child is eligible for 540 hours. And you can see that on the first box there. There are ratios and credentials that the teachers and provider must follow in order to contract with an early learning coalition to be able to do VPK. There also is a VPK summer program, and your child will be eligible for 300 hours. The one thing to note, though, you can't do both. You either have to do the 540 hours, but if you opt not to do that, then you can do the summer program right before your child would enter kindergarten. Also in the state of Florida, in the middle box, you'll see the VPK SIS program. And this is for children. Typically what we see, especially in our community, it may look different around the state, but in our community, those children who participate in pre-KD and did not utilize the voluntary pre-kindergarten dollars, you are able to apply for VPK SIS. And this is funds that you can use for your child's therapies, coaching, mentoring. It's just another opportunity that if your child is not going to utilize VPK, that they have an opportunity to use funds that will help get them ready for kindergarten. So as I mentioned, VPK is pretty simple. We're very grateful to the state of Florida and our local representatives that support this initiative and the taxpayers as well. This is a state program. We are housed under the Division of Early Learning, which is under the Department of Education, and without their partnerships, this program wouldn't be as good as it is today. I did fail to mention, because I got so excited to tell you how easy it is to be a part of the VPK program. VPK, in order for a provider to offer VPK, you have to contract with the coalition. So we have public school sites, we have private childcare centers, we do have a site on one of our bases. So there are plenty of opportunities and options, and it's up to the parent to figure out which one meets the best needs of their family. So while some programs are not considered a full day, typically the 540 hours is broken down into an hour of like 9 to 12. So if you needed that before care or after care, you would find a program that does offer that. But we are just very grateful for the opportunity. We want to make sure that everybody, our military families, our civilian families, but specifically our military families, know that we are here. Early learning coalitions across the state want to help you. We want to make this an easy process for you. So I would just say the biggest thing to remember, the two things that may be the easiest for you guys to get is your orders, and just ensure that it has the date that you will be coming to the community, to the state of Florida. And then also, if you have that military card, just make sure the birthday and everything is correct on that. Those are the two things from a military perspective. You have those, you're golden, and we can get you guys registered.
Thank you, Dana. I really appreciate it. And as the same with Colorado, I am linking everything in here for Florida. We partner with the Early Learning Coalition of the Emerald Coast. They are very fierce about how they advocate for their families, and we deeply appreciate that. So even if you're not sure who to reach out to, if you're not in the Emerald Coast area, that's at Fort Walton Beach area, this will link you to the larger Florida as a whole. But again, Dana is and her team there at the ELC and Emerald Coast. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let me add in, because this is last, it's not least, by any means, but we have Texas joining us, and you'll say, well, that slide is is blank. Yeah. Vanessa, let's go ahead and see if you can share your screen and take over.
Okay, let's see. Hopefully I can share this. Select a tab. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes, and I will take
Yay. Awesome. Okay.
you take over, ma'am. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm so glad to be here. My name is Vanessa Moran. I am from San Antonio, Texas, also known as our Military City, USA. I am representing Education Service Center Region 20, but also Texas as a whole. I am one of the early childhood consultants, and my information is there for you if you have any other questions after our presentation here. Just an overview for our military families in Texas. We do serve over 230,000 military connected students here in Texas, either public or open charter schools. And some of the information that I'm going to share with you here, let me make sure I jumped on over. There we go. Let's see. Sorry about that. I clicked on one of our links here, and everything here for you is hyperlinked. So when I click on it, it's going to send me that way. Let's see. Okay. So for our eligible students, just like Colorado and Florida, we are starting our eligibility at different times. So for our pre-K 3 students, if there is a pre-K 3 program available around your area, we are accepting eligible pre-K 3 students at the age of 3 on or before September 1st. And for all of our eligible 4 babies, we are accepting eligible 4 students on or before September 1st as well. For those students. When it comes to our military families, we are looking for some specific guidelines, right? So in order to be eligible for that free pre-K, a member of the armed forces, it can be a child of a biological or adopted child of a member of the armed forces, or a child that is a stepchild of a member of the armed forces, and also whether or not the child resides in that same home as a step parent. So that does open up that opportunity for some of our parents here. When we're looking at the armed forces and what that includes here, I've kind of listed a whole bunch of things. And again, it's all hyperlinked for you. But when we're looking at the active duty uniform members, you can see what's listed here as U.S. Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, our Coast Guard. We do get a lot of questions about the reserves. So when it comes to the National Guard and the reserves, you must be on active duty with orders showing the start and ending date. Now, if a student, and this was one of our questions, if a student qualifies for pre-K, if a student qualifies for pre-K on the base of being a child of an active duty member, now, if the active duty member leaves or is no longer active duty while the child is in pre-K, the child can still stay in pre-K. We're not removing the child. We're honoring that and making sure that the child continues to stay in that pre-K classroom. Also, any parents that have that MIA, missing in action, those students also are eligible for pre-K. Now, when it comes to the documentation pieces, we are looking for right here, as you can see, the birth certificate, of course, proof of address. For the parent ID, we can accept the military ID and, of course, immunization records to ensure that the child is up to date on all of their shot records. For proof of identification, I have listed all of the different types of identification or birth certificates that the state of Texas does take for registration. For our students, we do ask that the district verifies the student's U.S. Department of Defense photograph identification card. Now, this is not to be made a copy of. Whoever is registering those students, they must have put their name, sign, and verify the date that they verified that documentation of that student ID. Now, if for some reason the student does not have their DoD identification card, there are the member of the military, we can accept that copy of the parent's identification card. But also, here are some other options for parents that their student doesn't have that identification card yet. So here's some different documentation that Texas does accept: an official letter from your commander, a copy of the death certificate. When I did speak with the Texas Education Agency on Friday, he did make a good point as to we want to respect our family members. So not technically making a copy, but if you would like to, same thing, write the name, whoever's registering, that person would write their name, their signature, and the dates that they verified that information. The Purple Heart orders, line of duty while they might have been injured or wounded during combat, and then documentation that services members of missing in action. These are different options that a parent has when registering their child for pre-K. Oops, sorry about that. Okay. Now, when it comes to those instructional minutes, Texas does now require that pre-K 4 is full day. So it is required that our pre-K 4 students are in a full day program. For the half day, we're really looking at pre-K 3 programs, and we do have some districts that do offer pre-K 3 programs, or they're partnering with a childcare center, a high quality childcare center. We do have several districts that are taking on that opportunity to make sure that pre-K 3 babies are also receiving the same quality that our pre-K 4 students are. And then you can see here what the operations include. Now for childcare, for that after school care, that is not covered through the district, but you can find some child care centers that have that after school care. Also for our pre-K 3 students, some districts will offer half day, but some districts will say we will cover that other half of the day and make it a full day program, or they're partnering with our child care services, which is amazing. We do have child care that the district is paying the first half of the day, right? Because the ADA is covering that. But then the other half of the day, either the child care is taking care of that, or they're charging a tuition fee, but making sure that the student is there all day or for an extended amount of time that is needed for the parent to pick up. So it's usually 5:30, 6 o'clock. Now for our transfer students, we did get a lot of those questions. Any pre-K eligible student that is transferring, we must accept them into a school if they are pre-K 4. Pre-K 3 is not required, but our pre-K 4 students, we must find enrollment for them, whether they're currently being enrolled in that district or an adjoining district. Now, the parent has the opportunity as an active member to decide if they want to stay within their district or if they want to go within an adjoining district close by. Now, what was mentioned is the district is not reliable to make sure that transportation is happening, that if a family decides they want to go to an adjoining district, they would have to provide that transportation for their child. These are just some great resources here. I don't know if y'all can see the bottom there, but it's really in Texas, it's all hands on deck. We have our Texas Department of Family Services, TEA, Texas Health and Human Services, and our Texas Workforce Commission have all come together to say, let's not have our Texans come in and try to click on all these different websites. Let's house everything in a one-stop shop. And that's exactly what they did. They've come together. We have a one-stop shop called Early Childhood Texas. And this resource is about finding childcare and education from 0 to 12th grade. And you can see here, finding a public school. You can filter if you're looking for different ratings of schools, if you're looking for specific areas that you're looking for zip codes. Right here where I've kind of boxed in the find a public school, you can find that. Also for our childcare, if you're looking for childcare for your infant or your toddler, you can see in also after school care. That's all hyperlinked for you here. We just want to make sure that it's easy for our parents to find all the resources in one area for them. We also, of course, knowing that we are that military city, we have Sam Houston, Lackland, and Randolph, and our Air Base wing that have come together, and they've housed a website for our military families, making sure that that health and wellness, education, you can see the family support, childcare, everything is also housed here for all of our military families, and that is linked here for you as well, just to, if you would like more information for those services. And at Region 20 Education Service Center, we do have our family engagement consultant, Claudia Vargas, who is phenomenal. She has parent workshops that are either virtual or in person, offered in English and in Spanish, and it is free to all parents. I've hyperlinked both of those there for you as well. Regardless of the state that you're in, just getting some information on how to support your children at home, how to have those conversations, and just making sure that all parents and children are getting all the resources that they need. Also, you can see here for our military family resources, the majority of our resources that are here will either take you back to our Texas Education Agency, or it will take you to that joint military base. But we do have all of the resources here for you as parents on where do I go. I also have hyperlinked Claudia Vargas's information. If anyone in Texas has questions, you can definitely reach out to her. And of course, our Texas Education Agency, where all things are housed, Texas. I've hyperlinked that for you here as well. If you have any questions, you can go through their resources. They provide a lot of support. Again, all hands are on deck. If you want to contact them, they will respond to you. Very amazing people there at TEA. And I wanted to hyperlink this. I thought this was a great opportunity just for the state for our state to see how important it is for all of our agencies to come together to ensure that we are taking care of our military children. So I've linked that there for you, and any upcoming dates as well that can support and learn more about what we're offering here in Texas. All right.
Thank you.
I think I stopped sharing.
You did. You did incredible. And before I let you go,
Awesome.
because the very next slide here is on online questions, you answered, I think, most of these. I think the only one is maybe related to the bus. Do you have any information on pre-K busing? Again, varies so much by area, but anything you have, we would love to hear.
Yeah, so for bus riding, that is dependent upon districts. I know that childcare centers also pick up at different school districts, depending on the area that they're in. They would have, they would work with that district or that elementary to ensure that those students are being picked up by their vans for that after school care. But it would depend on every district.
Got it. Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Yes,
All right, let me bring all of our people back to the floor. Welcome, everyone. All right, let's go reverse order. So, Dana, these are the questions that we got in through our chat and through our email. What of these do you have additional information on? Oh no, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Beautiful.
You probably that's why pre-K is important, so you can learn to follow directions. Okay, you have to actually unclick the microphone. All right, so you said this was informal, so I'm going with it, guys. Okay. All right. What if my child is 4 but don't move until January? That's okay. In the state of Florida, there's not a cutoff. So if you want your child to attend VPK, you would just go to your local coalition. And I did want to clarify that what I spoke about earlier is specific to the certificate of eligibility that you would receive once you apply for that certificate. And then it's the parent's responsibility to take that certificate to whatever school they want to go to. And then once they get to that childcare or public school or the base, whatever they choose that meets their child's needs or their family's needs, then that provider may have additional documentation that they would need from a licensing perspective. But as far as VPK, you've met the requirements for VPK. I did want to clarify that. Is there before and after care school for pre-K at public schools, or do I have to find my own? Well, similar to what Miss Texas was talking about, um, it is up to the provider. We have some public schools, specifically in Okaloosa and Walton County, that are seeking to do care for 4-year-olds. But in the state of Florida, if you care for 4-year-olds before and after school, so after VPK, there's some additional things that they would have to obtain. So we're working through that, but the private pre-K providers and our faith-based providers that also offer VPK, typically they do before and after care, but it does vary. So we have some where they consider aftercare to 2 o'clock, but then we have some childcare that aftercare is till 6 o'clock. You typically don't see aftercare after about 6:30 is probably the latest that you would find that aftercare. Can pre-K ride the bus? Typically in our area, pre-K is housed wherever they are at and they stay there. That can vary across the state. And then it would depend on the license and insurance and those other additional variables that the provider would have to seek. And then what if I qualify for pre-K, but there aren't any provider or schools available? So one misconception in the state of Florida is that VPK sometimes is only offered at the public school sites. So what we've done is ensure, because our public school sites do tend to get filled quicker because typically they have siblings and it's easier for the families to have their siblings together. But I will tell you that they are, like I mentioned earlier, and I want to hit it home. If you reside in the state of Florida, you can go to a private childcare, you can go to a faith-based childcare, you can go to a military has some, and public schools. So if you hear that there is no space available, I would say reach out to the Early Learning Coalition in your area, and they also do childcare resource and referral, and they can generate a list in your area of schools that offer VPK, and then you could do some of your own research to see. But we do currently have spaces available across the state of Florida. So that's why we want to make sure every family knows that this is available.
Thank you, Dana. And then to where I'm currently living right now in the great state of Colorado, please, anything that I think you did cover some of these already, Heather, but if there's any additional information you can offer, I will take it.
Alrighty, so when we're looking at before and after school care, specifically in El Paso County, which is where Schriever, Peterson, Yusefa, and Fort Carson are located, it just depends on the provider. As far as public schools go, there are some that are starting to incorporate after school care. Just reach out to me so I can give you specific information as to where those are in which districts. Because what we do for our districts is we do it by section or by zip code. So if you are coming in that we don't do the bus, there is no bus transportation for district schools here in El Paso County. Doesn't mean that we can't help you with transportation. Like I said, Joint Initiatives works with different agencies and organizations in our county. We can look at that and try to help you with it. But specifically, there is not a bus that goes to the public schools for pre-K at this time. If there aren't any seats open, we look at the fact that, like she was saying, we have faith-based, we have private preschools, we have home preschools. We do have CPCD programs that they offer part-time programs, and you don't have to be Head Start qualified. Full day you can, and you have to be Head Start qualified. We will work with you if that is where you want to go for that. So we are constantly looking for seats. We also have wait list at our public schools. And we do know that there are some that are totally full at this time. But we do direct you to some other options. We recommend go get a tour, check it out, go check out their webpage so you feel comfortable. And I say, if you get a warm fuzzy and you want to go there, we'll help get it on your application, because right now we're in direct placement and we want to get kids in seats. We personally just went through 1,000 applications. And right now I think we have about 500 that we help get into seats over the last month. So we're working hard just like everybody else. So I hope that answers some of the questions.
Thank you. It does. And from a personal perspective, we just accessed universal pre-K for the first time here in Colorado. We finally had a child of age. And so what I can say, it's absolutely amazing. And it, from a family perspective, and this is what we hear from families in our case management, when they are able to access this of course, you do have that age requirement, but it really does just significantly change the trajectory of what families are able to do. I mean, it has dropped our rate so low that we no longer qualify for the military fee assistance program. And when they were apologizing, my center was apologizing. They're like, "I'm so sorry you don't get that." And I said, "Don't be. This is the first time my care has cost less than $1,000 a month. I am thrilled." So let's just move forward with where we are. So every state, we've heard in Texas, this is in Florida as well. Ask your state if this is a program that's available. A lot of military families think that they can only go to the installation for support, and that is not true. We know that most of our families are finding their support off the installation and the community-based programming, and you are part of the community. Just because you're only there for maybe 1 to 4 years doesn't mean that you're not a part of it. There are many civilians who also move frequently and may only be in an area for 6 months to a year. It doesn't mean that you are less a part of that community than anybody else, and those resources are also there for you. So we didn't get any additional questions in the live. So what I will say then is thank you everyone for joining us here today. My speakers for giving up your Saturday. I was saying this right before they hopped on. I just can't believe you all agreed to this. So I deeply appreciate that. We will be linking everything that our speakers have for you to have available on our website. And any questions that you drop in that we don't know, we are not the subject matter experts in pre-K programming by state. We will be engaging our subject matter experts to get you guys those answers. So thank you.